Okay, it is time for you to put together your formal writing for this unit in the form of an argumentative essay. You've done this before. You know how this works. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to give you enough freedom to make it an enjoyable assignment for you. Argumentative essays, they're also called rhetorical essays. The purpose of them is to be able to flesh out your arguments, to be able to argue in a reasonable way that you are right and someone else is wrong. So in this case, you're going to write a 3-page, double-spaced, MLA formatted essay, and it's going to be some sort of argument. You get to choose the topic. I don't really care what you want to argue about. You just need to think of something that you want to argue and then write about it. The main idea here is that you need real evidence. So I had a student that was arguing that marijuana should be legal in the state of Idaho. There's a couple of things here. Number one, I don't have a problem with the topic. If you want to do that, I don't really care. You need to consider, though, that when you're doing your research and you're looking up marijuana on the school computers for a few days, you're probably going to get a visit from an administrator or the school officer. So just think that through. Not saying you can't write it, you just might have to do your research at home for it. Second of all, when you look at the arguments, you're going to have to treat that fairly. So if you come to me with an argument that marijuana should be legalized because there are some medical applications, therefore everyone should be able to smoke marijuana, that's a garbage argument. That means it's only helping those people in the specific medical circumstances in which it would be helpful. Everybody else is being harmed by that same drug. If you want to come to me with an argument that says, look, everybody should be able to make their own decision whether they partake of something that is harmful or not, just like eating fried foods, drinking caffeine, alcohol and cigarettes are legal. So it should be legalized because everyone should be able to make the choice for themselves. That's a more valid argument that I'm willing to listen to. So when you think through your arguments, you need to consider logical fallacies. I have another video that's attached here that you'll watch that describes logical fallacies. Logical fallacies are just an error in logic that undermines your argument. That's it. So if you say marijuana should be legalized because most of the states have already legalized it, and so then we should. Why is that a logical argument? Just because everybody else is doing it, therefore we should? That's not a logical argument. That's a logical fallacy. That's called the bandwagon fallacy, where everybody's doing it, so we should too. So watch that video. Watch out for those types of arguments. I don't want to see logical fallacies where your logic or your flow of reason doesn't make sense. You're just going about it in a different way, right? So you're going to choose a topic. If you're having a hard time thinking of your topic, maybe think of those things that really get you fired up to argue about. That's a good place to start. Think about the things you're interested in. If you're into dance, it might be a great paper to argue that we should have dance classes available in Madison School District. It's weird that we have other PE classes, but you can't do dance for PE. So you could look at that as an argument. If you're into football, same thing. Why don't we have football as an option for PE in the Madison School District? So you get the idea of what I'm saying. Look at the things you're into. Look at the things that get you fired up to argue about. Those are good topics for an argumentative essay. Now, this essay will be a little bit different than ones you've done in the past because I want you to have at least 3 types of media for your evidence. You must cite at least 3 different types of media. That means if you find one piece of evidence from a website is one type of media. What are other types of media? Books, movies, songs, a personal experience, an expert that you know personally that you interview. Those are all different sources for your evidence. You must have at least 3 different types of sources. Now, you're going to have a couple of different turn-ins for this assignment. The first one is your rough draft. So before you even do your rough draft, you need to come up with a topic, and you should spend at least a couple of class periods doing research. Find your evidence. And if it's going to be a good argumentative essay, you need to acknowledge evidence on the opposing point of view. If you're able to acknowledge that, yes, there is an opposing argument and it's valid, but my argument is stronger and here's why, then you have a strong argument. If you just act like there is no possible way that there could be another side to this argument, that's a weak argument, and you will never be able to convince someone with that. So you're going to write the essay. Once you've come up with the topic, you do your research, do a rough draft. A rough draft is that. It's rough. The idea is not to write it perfectly the first time you write it. The idea is to get your ideas and your evidence on paper. Then you're going to turn that in. For your rough draft, it needs to be the full 3 pages, but you do not need your works cited page yet. Once you get to your rough draft, when you're ready to write your rough draft, come grab me and I will help you to format your paper on Google Docs. And I will show you how to use the citation tool in Google Docs so that it will do all of your citations for you so that you don't have to use Noodle tools or Citation Machine. It's by far the easiest tool I've seen in Google Docs to be able to do your citations. So come grab me when you're ready to write your rough draft. So your rough draft, all 3 pages, double spaced. The font is EB Garamond, and you can look in the written instructions. It's listed there. It needs to be 12 point. There is no bold in the title or larger title. There's no underlining. There's no extra lines between paragraphs. It's just double spaced, and you do your essay. Again, grab me when you're ready to format, when you're ready to start your rough draft. After that, you're going to have at least 2 people go through and edit your paper. Find someone you trust, because your final draft, I will be looking at spelling, grammar, your citation, your strength of arguments, everything. In order to get credit for this paper, you cannot make more than 15 mistakes. And I only count mistakes 1 time. So if you spell one word wrong 10 times in your essay, that counts for 1, not 10, okay? So after you have 2 people edit it, then you're gonna add your works cited page. Again, make sure you get me when you start your rough draft. I'll show you how to have Google Docs do that for you so you don't have to do it by hand. And then you're gonna turn in your final draft. So both of those can be turned in to me digitally. Matter of fact, let me change that instruction. Your final draft needs to be turned in by paper so that I can edit it on paper. That's a lot easier for me to do than doing all the symbols digitally. So final draft in paper, printed off, turned in with your name tag. And then if you have more than 15 mistakes, you'll get a redo. You can fix those, turn those in, okay? This should be the greatest writing that you've ever done for this essay. You need to spend the time to do the research. You need to find multiple resources for your evidence. You need to check through all the grammar, spelling, everything else. You need to have 2 people edit it. You need to make it perfect and turn that in, all right? Instructions are in writing here, just in case you forget font or size or formatting, anything like that. It's all there. Grab me if you have any questions.